Well, hey there, you're on the internet. I have some free time. Welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nerds can find all the news you'll need. We're going to revisit an ink today. It's an older review, or from an older review. Yeah, it needed updating. My computer can now handle even remotely high-res video, because the old one died. I've also changed my format. I've included new elements since then. I've added different papers. Yeah, it was just due for an update. So, let's get into it. Today's ink is... No, really it is. It's DeAtramentis Jeans Blue. Even if it says Architekt. Because if you're familiar, there are some shops and companies and things that will buy ink and relabel it, just like, well, I think they're called the Birmingham Pen Company now, but they used to be xfountainpens.com. They rebottle Diamine ink into Chesterfield ink. It is Diamine, but they relabel it Chesterfield. I think it's called something else now, but yeah, so DeAtramentis, as you can tell from the label, from the color, from the bottle, from the ink, this is DeAtramentis Jeans Blue. It says Architekt, but it's DeAtramentis. And also, as you might be able to see in the bottle, maybe when it settles a bit, it is very blue when it is wet, and then when it dries, it takes on a bit of a green hue. So yes. Now, two pens I used were these, because sometimes apparently I like to do the matchy-matchy thing. This is a Pilot Metropolitan with a Japanese fine. Good God, is it fine? It's like writing with the corner of a razor blade. And this is a Pilot 78G. And I love my 78Gs, and I love the broads and double broads, because they're actually stubs. So, there's that. Now, for comparisons, we've got, where is it? Yeah, Jeans Blue by DeAtramentis, and stuck to the back, Architekt Jeans Blue. They are the same, they just went on differently when I got the paint knife out. But as you can see, they share the same elements. They're blue and dusty in places where it's laid on thin. Where it's laid on thick, it becomes more green. It gets kind of woolly where it's laid on thickest. I swear to you, I have done about, I think something like 8 different sort of comparison tests. They are the same ink. So, just because Architekt is a brand less people are familiar with, we are going with Jeans Blue. Now, comparisons. Mont Blanc Blue Hour, as you can tell, quite similar. It lacks the wooliness that Jeans Blue has, although I kind of like that. I think it adds to the whole jeans thing. But again, quite blue where it's thinner, where it's laid on thickest. It turns sort of a seafoamy green. I'd say this one has a bit of a wider breadth of shading, maybe a little bit lighter. Next up is Waterman's Mysterious Blue, which is their blue-black. I'd say it's not quite as saturated. Again, maybe a little bit lighter, but again, blue and sort of dusty and matte where it's lightest, and then turns more into a seafoamy green where it's heavier. Next up is Pelikan's Edelstein Aquamarine. Got a lot of flack for this video. I thought this ink was found wanting. And I think you can see why. It's a lot thinner. It's not as saturated. It doesn't shade as much. It's very woolly. It has less of a separation of like, here's blue, here's green. It's... And lastly, we have Parker Quink Blue Black. Now, this one definitely is lighter, definitely is less saturated, but it has, it's sort of like a thinner version of this. It's very similar. It's sort of blue and dusty and matte where it's lighter, and then laid on heavier turns more of a seafoamy color. So yeah, there you go. There are your comparisons. Brace yourselves for chromatography. Alrighty, this one on the left with the D in the corner is the one that I let dry. This one is the one I did the way you're supposed to. Now, the way I do this is I essentially put a line of ink and then dunk this in the water, and then when this is dry, then I dunk this. So it's a difference of maybe about 8, maybe 12 minutes, but it can really make a difference, as you can see. Now, you can definitely tell in the normal one where that line of ink was put down. It's sort of a very soft blue, and then a lot of fairly blank space going up, and it becomes more green as we go up, and further up until it's essentially just green up at the top with the dark outline up at the very, very tips. Now here, where I let it dry, much more distinct line, sort of more color through here, more evenly distributed, and less condensed up at the top. Still very green up here, and there's actually a little bit of yellow in spots right at the edges, but we still have sort of a dark outline at the edge of the top. Chemical tests. Oh dear. Okay, so admittedly my camera sometimes really struggles with these this specific kind of ink where it's not quite blue, not quite green, and it's got hints in between. So I may have to scan. I really hope I don't. But as you can probably see here, water really got it moving. Not a lot of water resistance. 1/3 bleach solution did whatever this is. It turned it sludge green. It looks like gross. So I really don't know how to describe that color. It looks like snot. Anyways, ammonia pen flesh, oddly, or maybe not so oddly, didn't clean it off of the paper as well as water did, and I think it's because the ammonia in the paper actually started to affect the paper. I don't know if you'll be able to see that texture there, but water doesn't have that. So I think maybe it's sort of just the chemical in it opened the pores in the paper, and just, but yeah. Hydrogen peroxide really messed with the paper. Do you see that? Like all those lines, those funky lines, and oh yeah, there you can see it, how the paper started to come apart. You can see the fibers there. And once again turned it not quite as snot green as that, but sort of a weird funky green. And yeah, so just, I mean, I'm not telling you to clean out your pens with hydrogen peroxide. I would never do that, but still, weird, right? Paper tests. Clairefontaine, 90 grams per square meter. Now, I really like that this is called jeans blue because this really reminds me of blue jeans. It's got little hints of green in it. It has a woolly, sort of a matte texture. It's dark the way that, you know, like denim comes in different colors, different washes. And you do kind of get that breath in here where you have sort of a lighter denim and a darker denim. And yeah. So, anyways, a Japanese fine took 13 seconds to dry. The double broad stub took 26, but also, I mean, look at the density of color in that smear. You are definitely going to get saturation in here. I mean, even here where it's thinnest, you can barely make out that line in the quad paper. And this is not going to show up because it hasn't been showing up all day, but there's a hazy red sheen where it's laid on thickest. And I hope I'm eventually able to get that on camera, but yeah. Anyways, there's no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo. Hints of sheen, just like little hints of it. But yeah, water test is not great. A lot of it's gone. That is very, very light. It's turned a pale, sort of a sea foamy green. That fine especially is hard to see, so it wouldn't be easy to recover even remotely, unfortunately. Next up is Fabriano Eco Qua. It's an 85 gram per square meter paper. This is a paper I wasn't testing last time. It's my favorite paper, honestly. Yeah, again, we have great shading. Great saturation. Oh, wait, can you see that? Can you see the hints of red in the top scrubby? Darn it. Okay, it's also in the writing in the double broad stub above, like in halos. Come on, just show up, please. Anyways, Great saturation. It does have sort of that matte finish, that sort of like, yeah. Anyways, I really like the color where it's sort of a collision of like slightly green but blue. Japanese Fine took 14 seconds to dry. The double broad stub took 25. And I think it's funny that in the smears you can see that green underneath. And it was the same here too. So yeah. Anyways, I don't know why I wrote that, but had to redact something apparently. And there is red sheen in halos around the wettest parts, but it's just not showing up. Come on. Oh well. But yeah, no bleed, feather spread, no echo. There is sheen, but just like little hints of it. Not the best water resistance, admittedly. That is really, really gone. In fact, the camera's darkening it up just a little bit, but yeah, there's the barest hint of something. It would not be easy to recover. That's unfortunate, but Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter. Has a ceramic coating added in the pressing process, which I think really helps it sheen. Please show up. Please. Aw, come on, camera. Why you gotta be like that? Okay, you see that dark outline in the bottom scrubby? Just like a little halo in through here. That's red sheen. Pretty much anywhere you see that dark outline, that dark halo, there's red sheen. But my camera hates me today, especially. I don't know why. I don't know what I did, but it doesn't want to show up. But I think it's a nice contrast between this like sea foamy color where it gets dark, dark, dark till it's almost black, and then you turn it just right and you get this like flash of the metallic red. It's really pretty. But anyways, you see here, and the stub, that double broad stub really brings out that shading. You get a nice halo effect around the wettest parts. Creates a nice contrast, makes it easier to see. Really pretty. Again, in the smears, you can see more of that green undertone. Now, the Japanese Fine took 12 seconds to dry. The double broad stub took 26. Oh, wow. Wait, can we get it there? Sheen? Bueller? Anyways, yeah. Really nice saturation, dense color. Just really more of the same. Yeah, it's wet flowing. I don't think I said that before, but I'd give it about a 7 out of 10, or at least that's what it was running that day. So it is a bit wet, but not like out of control wet. It's just noticeably wet, which can be kind of nice when you're using a really fine pen because they just generally don't have super, super ready flow. And with a stub, especially admittedly a kind of cheap stub like this, sometimes it can be hard to get the right kind of contact to get it started. So I was certainly appreciating it that day. It is a bit wet, and there's no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo. There is sheen, but it's not showing up, darn it. I'm making everyone motion sick. Yep. Knocked the camera. But once again, as you can see, not a lot remaining. Now, I think the ceramic coating on the paper might have been what helped prevent it from dyeing the page the way that it did slightly with the other papers. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, that fine is really, really gone. But yeah, so still not the best water resistance. Next up is Tomoe River paper. It is 52 grams per square meter, so it's almost half the density of Clairefontaine. It's known for drawing out shading and sheen, and dry times, and echo. And we kind of got all of the above. I don't know if I'm going to get the sheen on camera finally. Oh, please. Oh, please, please, please. Yay! Although you're seeing about 1/10 of it. There's so much red sheen on here, but the camera is only picking up like the most of it. But it's in the writing, if you can see, especially with the stub, just because it's a broader, it's down a broader line. Has a very nice red halo around it. Now, admittedly, this is a cream paper. As you might be able to tell, Rhodia and Clairefontaine are more of a white, and Fabriano is more of an ivory. This is very clearly a cream-colored paper. Now, I do this to sort of show how the color of an ink can change, even with a subtle change in the background. So, I hope this comes through. I really do. Here, it's definitely more blue. Here, it is definitely more seafoamy green, which I actually quite like because, again, where you lay it on thickest, that's where it becomes more green. So it's nice. I always love the color changing ink in Harry Potter, so whenever I find an ink like this, it makes me very happy. But it's Tomoe River. It does draw out dry times, but not as much as I was expecting. I was worried it was really going to draw it out. So Japanese Fine took 20 seconds to dry. Double Broad Stub took 34. Could have been much, much worse. Again, we get a very distinct dark outline, wide breadth of shading. It still has sort of that dusty matte finish. It's quite nice. Now, there is no bleed, no feather, no spread, but where it's laid on darkest, especially enough to get that sheen, we are going to have some echo. Just because where it's dark enough to leave a sheen, it's very dark, and this is extremely thin paper. So the fine maybe isn't so bad, but the double broad, if you're sensitive to it like me, you're not going to love that. But yeah, that's something else this paper is famous for. It just lets ink slide away when you add more water. That is really, really gone. It's almost as if it was never there. So, yeah, don't get it wet. Now, for the next 3 tests, I only used the Japanese Fine, except to write the name. This is the world's worst copier paper. This stuff is complete trash. But, yeah, we get a lot of spread. See the line width exploded. We've essentially lost like nearly all the shading. It's sort of dropped into a medium between that sort of seafoamy green and the jean, like the real like genie blue color. So it's somewhere in the middle. Took about 2 seconds to dry. Definitely got that woolly finish. Definitely got feathers. So we got feather, we got spread, we got wool. We got a lot of show through. Now, if you can see that just while I'm holding it up in the air, once I like press it to a white background, it's gonna drive me nuts. But I will point out, see how most of it is very opaque? So most of it, like this is the paper turned sideways and zoomed in, and so it's this thick. The ink is, and this is the top and this is the back. It's really, really sunk in, so it's closer to the back and easier to see and a bit darker, but very little of it has reached the back, and essentially none has come through, which is when it dots the page below. So we've got that. It would not be fun or easy to write on both sides, but it wouldn't start affecting the next page. So, there's that. Now, more absorbent papers do tend to draw the ink in, make it harder to wash out, which is kind of what happened. We definitely have more remaining than we generally had before, that's for sure, especially Tomoe River. But it did kind of freak out. As you can see, very blurry. I feel like I'm wearing someone else's glasses. It did feather and explode. It looks like Grover's evil cousin. Eagle cousin. What would that look like? Uncle Sam? Anyways, Mead Notebook Paper. Very common for school children in the United States. We actually retained a little bit of shading on here, but it's kind of hard to tell just because the line is so fine. We do have a bit of a separation between the greener and bluer areas. We have less spread, so here it is on the 20 pound, and here it is on the Tomoe River, sort of a nice in between. Not as much spread. Now this type of mead from a spiral notebook, it is very prone to feathering, and we did have that problem here. We do have like the occasional big, ugly, distracting spike, which is unfortunate. However, this is a decently saturated ink, and it is quite wet flowing, and this is very cheap paper. So the fact that we don't have more spread is nice. We do have some feathering. We have no bleed. None. Not at all. In fact, we have very little that is very clear from the other side, unlike the 20 pound where it's much more dark and distinct. If you're sensitive to it, it would not be super comfortable to write on both sides, but you could. So there's that. That actually surprised me. I thought that would be worse. But this paper does tend to freak out when you add water. And it kind of did, but it is still fairly there and still fairly dark. And it's just parts of it started to freak out and explode. So honestly, I was expecting worse. Because like if you look at how affected the water was with the paper, like it actually really messed up the grain of the paper. I was expecting it to affect the writing a lot more, but that's really not too bad. Now, lastly is Moleskine paper. Do I even need to bring this closer? That's just a train wreck. Anyways, yeah, train wreck. So this is hideous. This paper is very cheaply made, but a notebook of about this size is what, $12, $15, something like that. Yay. Yeah. We have no shading. Camera. We have no shading. We have intense feathering. We have ugly degree of woolliness. We can see the pulp pattern in the paper. Alliteration. Really not good. It's a mess. And then we have this. So if you remember, this is like the world's worst 20-pound copier paper. We got this. Show through, but no bleed. And we have Mead, which is physically thinner than 20-pound paper and quite possibly less expensive per square meter or whatever. Then we have this. Darker, more show through, more echo, more bleed. Because if we bring this in, you see how dark it gets? Admittedly in small spots, but in small spots all over. Yeah, that's bleed. That's like if we bring it in close and blow it up and it's like this. Here's the top and here's the back. The ink is like here. It's like it's stuck to the back. So you can see it in these tiny spots all over. That would be very uncomfortable to try and write on both sides. It'd be very distracting. Really not good. And here we see the ink freak out the most we've seen so far. Like if we look at this, it's not like the green and the yellow is shooting off and the blue at the center is calm and still the way we've mostly seen before, even here with Mead, which generally is the one to freak out. But look at this, it's feathering, it's exploding, it's hideous. I hate Moleskine. But there was a time when I didn't know better, and somebody had to show me the difference. And so I keep it in there to show people the difference. And because if an ink can behave well on Moleskine, that's a keeper, not just because of this. Yeah, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that stuff. But anyway, so there you go for your consideration. DeAtramentis, or Architekt, Jeans Blue. It really evokes jeans, you know, it's got that like woolly kind of blue matte thing with like hints of green, great shading. On premium papers there's red sheen, not that I could get it on camera. It does suffer from what I've come to call DeAtramentis syndrome, which is the longer the ink is out of its vessel, so sample vial or in this case bottle, and just sitting in a pen, the more aggressive it can become. So it can bleed more, it can feather more. Something to be aware of. So as always, my advice is keep it fresh, people. So yeah, for your consideration from the Triple N Network, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.